Life Over Coffee. Conversations for Transformation.
Hello everyone, Rick Thomas here. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to talk just a little bit about this idea of work and rest. And I'm actually going to put those two thoughts together because they are interrelated. And the reason that I want to discuss them, this is the final chapter of my book, Your Health, because without understanding a sound theology of work and rest, we will neither work well or rest well. And perhaps you know people, you have people in your life who are not restful souls. In many cases, what you will find is they have bought into the ideology of our culture, which basically is you work during the week and you live for the weekend, and then because of this striving to get to the weekend, and they work hard, they play hard, but they're just not satisfied, and they live in this cyclic idea of working and resting, but do not see the interconnectedness of the two, that actually is two sides of the same coin, and we do not want to dichotomize them. We want to put them together in a beautiful symmetry. And so the construction that I want to put together here is that if you want to rest well, then you have to work at it, work to rest. And I want to talk about living a life that's honoring God. It requires a person to rest well, and that is really the problem that we have in our culture today. If you rest well, you will work well. And if you rest well, the other parts of your life will be satisfying too. But I suspect that most people in first world countries like ours, that they do not know how to rest well. They don't have good sleep habits. They don't know what it means to rest, to be contented, to have a quieted soul. They're unaware or they're unconcerned about the adverse effects of not resting well. So important is rest that without a sound theology and practice of rest, your work diminishes and your relationships suffer. And so I want to begin this by asking you the question, what is your theology of rest? Now, maybe that's too nerdy of a question to ask, that you've never heard before or never thought about it built out that way. But how do work and rest intersect symmetrically, making you whole? That's what I want to explore over the next few moments. If you work, for example, without sound rest, you will burn out. And I think many of us know that. If you rest, which is really not rest, it's just being lazy, without work, you'll become slothful. Working and resting from a theological perspective, a bibliocentric perspective, bibliocentric work and bibliocentric rest is what I'm talking about, not the culture's view of work or rest. But working and resting well makes a person productive and wise, and a person worth imitating. It is a beautiful dichotomy of wholeness, two components that lead to a contented life. The automobile industry illustrates this dynamic, the cultural dynamic duo of work and rest, of how they get it wrong. You probably have heard that it's not wise to buy a car that someone built on a Monday or a Friday, though I'm unsure how you would know when your car came down the production line. It is possible to find out, but it would take a lot of due diligence. The theory suggests that if a person builds a car on those 2 days, Monday or Friday, the production worker is either recovering from the past weekend, where he was trying to have fun and rest and relax and get away from work, or he was looking to the next weekend. He built the car on Friday, so he's so focused on how he can get away from work so that he can have fun. This is actually a cynical take that follows the instincts and the habits of our society, which is what I want to detach ourselves from, because the culture's view of rest can actually be summarized by the term living for the weekend, where the average worker works hard during the week and plays hard on the weekend. The result is dissatisfaction and no enjoyment of work or rest due to the misunderstanding of their interrelatedness and their codependency. And you'll see that when the worker comes in on Monday and they're exhausted or frustrated about the weekend, and as they move toward the end of the work week, they're not focused and they're so dialed in on what's going to happen on the weekend, and so the quality of the work goes down. And of course, on the weekend, the rest is not what they thought it would be. The residual effect on the restless soul is incremental discontentment that motivates him to try harder, to find fulfillment elsewhere, a pursuit that will never satisfy. He may go to inexhaustible lengths to fill the God-shaped void in his life. This weekend theology of rest is the religion of hedonism. In this view, work becomes the necessary evil that finances self-seeking weekend pleasures. Work is the means to the end rather than part of a worldview that moves toward enjoying God and glorifying God in all things. This worldly work hard, play hard hermeneutic is a disjointed view of life that spawns perpetual dysfunction. There is an ingrownness to this kind of thinking that uses people, places, and things for self-seeking benefits. There's not an other-centered aspect to working hard and resting hard and working to rest. And so what is your theology of rest? When discussing rest, do you include working rigorously in your discussion? Are you a restful person? I'm not merely speaking of time away from work, but is your soul at rest while at work? Do you pursue biblical rest that does not live for the weekend, but a rest that incorporates work as part of your theology of rest? I've heard a statistic about a group of 90-plus-year-old people that it astounded me so much when I heard it so many years ago that what they said actually drives my philosophy of work, productivity, and spreading God's fame. It drives what I do here at Life Over Coffee. The question posed to these 90-plus-year-old people was, what would you do differently if you could live your lives over again? And when I heard it, I was much younger, and so I was so thankful because I didn't want to be that 90-year-old and answer the question the way that they answered the question. And out of the scores of folks who were surveyed, there was 3 top answers. I'm not really aware of the priority of the order, but here are their responses. They said, if I could live my life over again, I would take more risk. And there's a lot to talk about in that statement. Number 2, they said, if I could live my life over again, I would do things of value. Eternal value is how we would think of it. And then number 3, and this is the one that I want to spend a little time on, if I could live my life over again, I would reflect more. I would spend time thinking, deliberating, processing. This last point about reflection is one of the most essential strategies for the restful soul, the reflective soul. Our society seems opposed to the notion of reflective thinking, slowing down just long enough to process what is in front of you. We live too frenetically. The pace of life moves at the speed of the internet. We have reduced our correspondence to tweets and blurbs and quotes. We spend our days on socials just liking this and liking that, never remembering anything because it flushes out of top of mind. Stopping, thinking, and reflecting are anomalies in our fast-paced culture. We have too much to do to slow down and contemplate our actions. There's no rest there. Reflection is not valued because we do not know how to do it and we refuse to take the time to think about it. 500 years ago, we had thinkers that roamed the land. It was actually a job description, kinda. I mean, imagine 2 kids talking to each other 5 centuries back about what their fathers did for a living. Kid number 1 says, hey, what does your daddy do for a living? Kid number 2 says, my dad, he's a thinker. Kid number 1 says, cool, so is mine. I want to be a thinker when I grow up too. Thinkers are a thing of the past. The doers have replaced the cautious, the deliberate, the introspective. The doer gets things done, though you could make an argument for a lack of quality control. Too many need to learn the true purpose of resting, reflecting, contemplating. Resting is not the cessation of work as though you are kicking your brain in neutral and doing nothing. The Lord rested, but He did not disengage Himself from who He was and what He was doing and what He was about. He worked while He was resting. Some people see rest as the antithesis of work rather than a component of the work-rest construct. They are not unrelated opposites, but coexisting, interrelated necessities. Those who do not understand this perspective will come home from work and check out of life. His goal will to do something that does not require his mind, a common and critical mistake. He will likely want to entertain himself with his preferred amusement. Ironically, the word amusement means without the mind. To muse is to think. To amuse yourself is to not think. When the man comes home to amuse himself, he is not relaxing, though it may feel that way. It's like a drug addict taking a meth trip to find relief from the stress of life. He's not relaxing, he's escaping. Eventually, the addict comes down to earth, and all his stress is still with him. It never left. He never learned to rest, never worked to rest. He just escaped when he came in, like coming in the front door and going out the back. He amuses himself doing things that does not require the mind. He may have checked out, but was not transformed, not rested, and not satisfied. And when he goes back to work on Monday, there is something that is still missing. Thus, he takes another trip, like the restless soul living for the weekend. It's more accurate to say he is an addictive soul, not a restless one. If he is wise and humble, he will realize that he has not escaped anything, but has entered a vicious cycle that has captured his soul. The worn down person should think about his life, reflect, take time to meditate on what is happening here, and then make vital adjustments. His job does not allow him to do this. He must reclaim what life has taken from him. Rather than succumbing to life's demands by disengaging, he needs a new strategy. Like most tired folks, he thinks that doing nothing is the answer to his stagnation. However, to do nothing is to do something that will never satisfy. To do nothing does not reclaim anything. It fakes out the brain into thinking it is resting when it is not. A wife will talk this way too. The daily pressures of her responsibilities begin to overcome her. You will hear her say, "I just need a break. A weekend away would be great." Now, temporarily, she is right, but it won't change what she hopes to change. Like the drug addict or the gentleman who comes home and amuses himself, a break would allow her to check out of her responsibilities, but it would not transform her with the fortification she needs to persevere in the duties that await when she returns. Within a day or two of re-entering the fray of her life, she will experience exhaustion all over again, and she will be ready to take another break. It's like living for the weekend, which is not how the Bible teaches us to rest. In Hebrews 4:11, the writer said, "Let us therefore strive to enter into that rest, so that no one may fall by the same sort of disobedience." Strive to rest, to enter into that rest. Let us work to rest. The Lord warns us not to stop striving to find rest. Rest requires work. If you work at it, you will discover the sweet spot between work and rest. Because work takes a toll on the soul, you must know how to be proactive about rest. There is a rest for the people of God, but it only comes to the person who works at it. The husband who comes home with a plan to serve his wife will enjoy a restful home. The father who plans to engage his children will build a home full of peace. Laziness, amusement, disengagement will not bring either of these things. The complaining wife who lets everyone know how exhausted she is will not find rest, nor will her family. Her thinking needs to be more in line with God's Word. It's counterintuitive. It's counterintuitive, gospel-informed living to work to find rest. How can that be? Well, you might as well ask, will I live if I die? The way of the gospel-centered life is always flipped upside down. It is always counterintuitive. It always cuts against the grain of our nature. It is counterintuitive to the typical self-centered person. And so let's look at 3 illustrations about the husband, the father, and the wife. This is the path to unrest. The husband comes home not considering his wife or how he can serve her. Now multiply that kind of self-centered thinking by 10 years. Well, that's 3,600 times, well, he didn't, 5 days a week, whatever the math is. And then you also have to add all the other times that he was self-centered in the marriage. Laziness and self-centered habits will not be isolated into one area, like coming home from work. So yeah, we are over 3,600 times, probably 10,000 times in 10 years that he has been lazy and inactive, not serving his wife. There will be an all-about-me assault on every sphere of his life, which will exacerbate his familial dysfunction. The illustration of the father, who continually checks out of his children's lives, will reap a whirlwind of anger and rebellion from them, plus a broken heart. The wrong response is to spend more time at work to escape from his home life. He will become a slave to his career while disengaged and mired in selfishness at home. And then illustration number 3, the wife who complains, grumbles, criticizes, will sow seeds of discord and division in her family. The children will walk on eggshells, wondering if they have met her expectations. One teen counselee told me many years ago that she would phone ahead to a sibling to see how things were with her mom before coming home. There was no rest in their family. If these 3 illustrations are ways to unrest, then what is the path to rest? When the Israelites crossed the Jordan River, the Lord wanted them to set up a memorial stones to remind them of His great work in their lives. He did not want them to forget what He did for them. Work should anticipate reflection for redemptive purposes. It reminds me of how I feel after mowing the lawn. Many men have had this experience. I will take a few moments to enjoy my freshly trimmed yard. It brings satisfaction to look over my work and rejoice in the accomplishment of it. Do you see the interconnectedness of work and rest? The Lord made us for work, not just for the utilitarian purpose of working. Doing a job is more than just getting a task done, whether it is the work you do vocationally or the work that you do at home. To do a job and not enjoy it is detrimental to the soul. The Lord wanted the Israelites to remember and appreciate what He did for them. An aspect of hard work is stopping, reflecting on the good Lord's strength that enables you to do those tasks, to move forward in life. Don't be that utilitarian guy who moves from task to task without thinking about all he did, God's fame, or the impact of His work on others. If you don't enjoy His perfected strength in your life, your job will be just that. It'll be a job. You will soon exhaust yourself through purposeless grinding. If you work hard at your job and work hard at your home life, you should be able to sit back and rejoice in what God has done through you and the redemptive impact on others. And so the sequence is that you work, you rest, and you rejoice. These 3 things make you complete. They make you whole. Rejoicing in the work done is one way to express gratitude to the Lord for what He has done through you. You're acknowledging that He is the one who gives you the power, the strength, the ability, the intelligence to accomplish any task, whether it's at work or at home. The person who works hard at work and works hard at rest at home will be the most restful and grateful person because he has experienced God's grace in all areas of his life. He has found the sweet center as work, rest, and rejoicing capture his mind. He understands the interrelatedness and codependency of work, rest, and rejoicing. He faithfully labors at work and rest and enjoys the Lord's benefits and empowering favor through both of these endeavors, work and rest. His response is gratitude for God's mercy to him. When a person works hard at work and works hard at rest, there will be fruit that makes the heart glad. If the disengaged husband or father or nagging wife worked to change, they would find rest for their souls, rather than fueling internal discontentment and stirring external chaos. They would have a peaceful home, a grateful one. When the fruit of this type of work-rest ethic materializes, there will be a newfound lifestyle, even when they toil. The idea is to work to rest. This is actually chapter 10 in my book, Your Health. I would love for you to get that book. There's a whole lot of other information in there as I tackle other subjects that speak to our dichotomy, body and soul. In this book, Your Health, the idea is to take care of our bodies well. But in order to do that, there's a significant and primary spiritual component to taking care of our bodies and our relationships. And of course, in chapter 10 here, about working to rest. What does it mean to be a restful soul? We have to tackle the internal spiritual dynamics that can lead us to checking out on the weekend and checking out of our families, thinking that that is rest when actually it is not. But when we work to serve others, the most fulfilled people that you would ever meet are those who love God and love others. And so we spend our lives serving others, working for the glory of God, and in that there is a deep satisfaction. And when it comes time to take a break from work, as I'm calling rest here, we work at that as well, and you'll find complete wholeness in that cyclic dynamic of work to rest. If I may make an appeal here as I wrap up, as you know, most of our resources are free, but in actuality, they are not. On the back end of our ministry is a donor community. These are the people that you do not know. These are the people that actually provide this content or cause this content to be provided for you. We produce it. They pay for it. And I praise God for this community. But in order for us to continue to do what we do the way we do, and we have no intentions of changing whatsoever, we're going to continue to give our content away. Even while I was creating this chapter in this book, Your Health, I saw several people had already come to our website and they downloaded some free content. And I am so happy. I wish 1 million more people would do that. And maybe someday that will happen. But again, there's a cost for it. And so if you are in a position to where you can become a regular supporter of our ministry, help us to keep our resources free. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us. Learn more and get access to other resources at lifeovercoffee.com.